I hope they get so mad at me that they incarcerate me. That way my health is taken care of, my food is taken care of, my housing is taken care of. And
My taxes are paid for your meals too.
yeah.
Hello there again. Is that pizza in there?
Lucky we're going to print our stuff
And all the awkward places.
now. That's we're going to print out our stuff. You could probably do this. Thank you so much.
Got some bad news. Texas A&M their baseball game. Illegal player.
I got you. When I first made it, I got you. Made it on 38. Now I've been to sports all
That's right. I just saw sick
Well, that's the whole thing. My sense of it is not like it should. Yeah, it's a lot of hardly me because I'm a shepherd, and I'm supposed to say one word, and I couldn't do it. I was there,
There's a good line out there.
all off to the side. I never one word.
Good there. Makes her
I'm not going to the lake.
How you doing? Start reading Scribbly writing.
Okay, we're going to call the meeting of May 19th to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Yes, council, and I've set your buttons so they're not going to flash, but you're all set up. So when it comes time to request to speak, those buttons are all working. Mayor Ford. Mayor Pro Tem Bullock.
Here.
Councilman Amador.
Present.
Councilman Teeter.
Here.
Councilwoman Carson.
Present.
Councilman Benson.
Here.
Councilman McEldowney.
Here.
Councilwoman Elliott.
Present.
Councilman Douglas.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Bullock, you do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Would the audience please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and a minute of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God. If we can do the audience introduction.
Francis Zajac from the Rec Center, a resident of Commerce City.
Zach Roth.
Jenny Loveridge from Commerce City Rec Center.
Maxine Galindo.
Sandy Carruthers.
Beth Scott.
George Maxey. Derek Tripp.
Deborah Bullock.
Glenn Batista.
Karen O'Donnell, Parks and Recreation.
Alicia Walenta.
Michael Walenta.
Johnny Yates.
Thomas Dietz.
Denise Williams.
Tyler Walenta.
Thank you.
This is my name.
Julia Moreno. Luis. Angélica Villegas. Braden.
Elizabeth Taylor.
Tony Taylor.
Family.
Francisca Ramírez.
Jesse Cervantes from Commerce City.
Jessica Ramirez. Alaya. Lumi. Flores. Damaris.
June Younger, Commerce City Historical Society.
Jesse Green.
Alan Navarez. Axel Alvarez. Leslie Rojas.
Lorena Mora.
Daniel Rojas.
Erika Villegas.
Renato Álvarez. Robert Phillips.
Larry Quintana, Adams Forking Board of Education.
Guillermo Serna.
Yareli Rojas.
María Sosano.
Brady Rojas, Camp Elementary. Leslie Rojas, Camp.
Mrs. Lopez, Kemp Elementary.
Carolyn Hoover. Jennifer Hoover from Camp Elementary.
David Myers.
Jill. Trinity Reba.
Janine Rabaugh.
Drew Rabaugh.
Hilda Flores.
John Howard, Information Technology.
Marty Farm. Eduardo Grimaldo.
Sarah Grimaldo.
Michael Alentowski.
Carolyn McBartlett.
Eric Rosales. Divinity Gonzalez.
Keith Hensel. Lee Bolden.
Esther Kettering.
Brian Wilkes.
Carlotta Barnes, Cultural Council. Heidi McNeely, Cultural Council. Carolyn Keith, Parks and Recreation.
Troy Smith, Police Chief.
Kathy Blakeman, HR.
Raimundo Esparza.
Beatrice Salua.
Brian Esparza from Rose Hill Elementary.
Veronica Jaques.
Devin Hawkins. Elizabeth Velasquez. Sarah Ressler. Kayla Ressler.
Aaron Rustler.
Evelyn Roscoe.
Benedina Villa.
Jamelia Roscoe, Camp Elementary.
Mr. Armenta, Camp Elementary.
Giselle Jeffords. Kiera Jeffords.
Jaden Jeffords from Landmark Academy.
Jessica Jeffords.
Sean Jeffords.
Aubrey Klaus.
Colton Harris.
Micah Hess.
Amanda Haas.
Jamie Martinez, Monaco Elementary.
Beatriz Rosales.
Emily Martinez.
Tomás Martínez.
Okay, I want to thank everyone for coming this evening. Why are you all here? Okay, no, we know. Okay, that was a joke. Okay. Next on the agenda is proclamation and recognition. Would the members of the Historical Society and Cultural Council please come forward to do the invite the representatives for the presentation for the coloring books? Okay. Crystal. Okay, you have to choose a spokesman.
Thank you. Do we need to say our names and addresses?
Yes, ma'am.
Deborah Bullock, 6130 Ivanhoe Street.
Carlotta Barnes, 15800 East, 121st Avenue.
Heidi McNeely, 17827 East 107th Way.
Okay, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and Council, my name is Deborah Bullock. I'm the Secretary-Treasurer of the Commerce City Historical Society, and we're here tonight to give our awards out for the History Coloring Book Contest. The Commerce City Historical Society developed this coloring book in 2012, and we developed it to continue to educate the children on the local history of Commerce City and to expose them to the local city government in Commerce City. So this has become an annual program for us. If it wasn't for this, these children may not ever see City Hall, and so it's a great project. The Commerce City Cultural Council has partnered with us on this project, and it is also now an annual event for the Cultural Council. It's considered one of their annual art shows. And they have supplied the prizes and the refreshments for tonight, and they've also supplied tickets for the Rapids to the winners and a recreation center pass. To make this possible, we received a grant from the Quality Community Foundation and the Commerce City Business and Professional Association. to make this possible to cover the printing of the books, which are printed at the School District 14 print shop for a reasonable cost, and to purchase crayons and other supplies to make this possible. We pass these coloring books out every year to the schools with all of the volunteers from the Historical Society. And the schools that participated this year were Turnberry Elementary, Landmark Academy, Alsip Elementary, DuPont Elementary, Kemp Elementary, Rose Hill Elementary, Central, and Monaco. Both the Cultural Council and the Historical Society then picked up the coloring pages and decided to, or we judged them in the Cultural Council meeting. And this is a hard thing to do because there's hundreds of pictures. I would like well, we've already introduced ourselves, so I won't have to do that again, but I would like to introduce JD and Crystal because they are our Cultural Council representatives from the City Council, and so we appreciate them helping us out. So we're going to give these awards out, and I'm going to ask someone to hold this box, and I will tell you if it's first, second, or third, so then you know what, and I'll hand these out.
Dan,
So,
you can turn that mic over on this side where you face the audience.
oh.
Okay.
So as I call your names, if you can come up, and do you want them to stay up here?
Yes.
So if you can come up and get your certificate and prizes, and then come up here on the stage, and then we'll take a group picture. Chloe Carlos is our first person, and she's a first place winner. Is Chloe in the audience? Chloe Carlos. Jasmine Marquez from Alsip Elementary is a second place. Braden Cowley is from Alsip, third place. From Central Elementary, Alex Galavis. From Central Elementary, second place, Divinity Gonzalez. And from Central Elementary, third place, Giovanni Jimenez. From DuPont Elementary, first place is Karen Garcia. Second place from DuPont is Dayanara Torres. Third place from DuPont is Axel Alvarez. We also have a third place winner from DuPont, Leslie Rojas Mora. First place from Kemp Elementary is Jennifer Hoover. Second place from Kemp is Yoselin Rojas Sufano. And third place from Kemp is Janelle Orozco. First place from Landmark Academy, Jaden Jeffords. Second place from Landmark Academy is Hosea Yates. And third place from Landmark is Megan Pham. And first place from Monaco is Libni Flores. Second place from Monaco is Jamie Martinez. And third place from Monaco is Alaya Cervantes. First place from Rose Hill is Brayan Esparza. Second place from Rose Hill is Tyler Walenta. And third place from Rose Hill is Jaden Mayes. First place from Turnberry is Trinity Roybal. And second place from Turnberry is Kaylin Russler. And third place from Turnberry is Colton Haas. Is there anybody that we missed? I don't think so. Okay. All right.
Okay, we're going to take a group
We're going to
picture.
take a group picture.
Come on, council, let's get in the picture. We didn't have to color, but we get to be in it.
Okay, let's scoot everybody in.
Some of you should go down in the front row. You don't want to stand on the stage? There's going to be 50 pictures, so don't nobody move.
Smile. Smile for long times.
Is that everybody get a picture? Okay, let's do it. Thank you so much.
Good job, everybody. Thanks for coming. Thank you, and you did an excellent job on the left there. Thank you. I would like to thank all the parents as well. Without the parents, the kids wouldn't be here, so thank you very much for bringing them tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay, if you folks would like to stay for the rest of council meeting, we welcome you. But if you would like to leave right now, we'll give you time to leave and go out and have some more cookies and everything. Okay. They were going at different speeds. Yeah. Okay, next on the agenda is our Memorial Day proclamation. Is there a representative from the American Legion in the audience? Okay, if not, Mr. City Attorney, would you please read the proclamation?
Proclamation reads, Commerce City, Colorado Proclamation. Whereas the United States Congress has designated May 26, 2014 as Memorial Day in the United States of America to honor those Americans who died while defending our nation and its values. And whereas a new generation of military members remain overseas risking their lives in service to all Americans. And whereas each person who died during hostilities was a loved one cherished by family and friends, and each death was a tremendous loss to our community, our state, and our nation. And whereas, while we should honor these heroes every day for the profound contribution they have made to securing our nation's freedom, we should honor them especially on Memorial Day. And whereas this community, in conjunction with John Custy, American Legion Post 151, and all veterans organizations in our area, will observe Memorial Day on May 26, 2014 with our traditional parade and ceremonies. And now therefore be it resolved that the Mayor of the City of Commerce City and Mayor Pro Tem, by virtue of the authority vested as Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem of Commerce City, do hereby proclaim this city's observance of May 26, 2014 as Memorial Day in accordance with the nationwide observance of the same, and encourage all to join in remembering those honored dead who fell in the line of duty in various military actions. Signed by the Mayor, on his behalf, the Mayor Pro Tem, City of Commerce City.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for acceptance of the proclamation? Mr. McAdowney?
I move to accept or approve the Memorial Day proclamation. My apologies.
Ms. Carson?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. The motion and the proclamation is accepted. Would the council please join me down front? The representative from the American Legion isn't here, but I would like for council to take a picture in accordance with Memorial Day with our proclamation.
One, two, three. Got it. One more. That's a winner. Thanks.
Okay, anyone of the council have any comments? Ms. Carson?
I just wanted to take a brief moment to thank everyone that has given of their time to serve this great country, and to their families for the sacrifices that they have made. And I also want to recognize my fellow council members who have served in the armed forces. I know Mr. Bullock was Army?
Army.
Mr. Benson? Were you?
Marines.
The Marines. Mr. Teeter? Army. And I think I've covered. Thank you, though. Thank you very much for your sacrifice.
Mr. McAdowney?
I would just like to echo Councilman Carson's comments and obviously honor those family members and friends of mine that have served. Unfortunately, we will not be participating in the parade this year, and it's a momentous year for the parade. And I am excited to have Mr. Teeter and his family so represent the community at the event this year, and I know it will be another tremendous event. So, thank you.
I would also like to say this is the 50th year of the Commerce City Parade, and we have the largest parade in the state of Colorado, and we aren't going to get any smaller this year, so I would invite everybody to come out on Monday and join us with our Memorial Day Parade. Trust me, for the sacrifices that's been made to make sure we can parade, it's well worth your while. Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is citizens' communication. I have one name on the citizens' communication. As we approach the primary election season, council would like to remind candidates for elected offices that political activity in the city building is prohibited per Resolution 2008-60. When you come up for citizens' communication, please give your name and address for the record and keep your comments to 3 minutes. Thank you. We have one name on it, Mr. Robert Taves.
Thank you, City Council. My name is Robert Taves. I live at 7120 East 66th Place here in Commerce City.
Okay, could you pull up the mic a little bit closer to, okay, and
Can you
step
hear me
in.
all right now?
Okay, now we can
I didn't
hear
want to overblast it, but my name is Robert Taves. I live at 7120 East 66th Place in Commerce City. I have one small issue, and I have finally found out and figured out why quite a few of the people here in this city really despise the code enforcement. On May 2nd, I was found out that I had a code violation. The code enforcement officer took 5 pictures, well, all of code violations. This was on a Friday. He gives you 7 days to go ahead and get it cleaned up. I only had 3 items out there. It wasn't any big deal. My problem is that he did it behind my back. He took the pictures behind my back, didn't even bother to notify anybody around on the property, didn't even bother to go up there and say, hey, look, you got some code violations. There was no respect from the code enforcement. And that is my major issue. Code enforcement needs to learn respect for the people out here, that they are out here to serve, that they are out here to go ahead. I understand cleaning up the property. I have no problem with that. If you got code violations, I have no problem getting it cleaned up. I know what my code violations were. Thankfully, Saturday and Sunday, I was working on my code violations. They give you 7 days to go ahead and get these cleaned up, ladies and gentlemen. The 2nd, which was on a Friday, is one of the days. The 3rd, which is a Saturday, no mail went out. Sunday, no mail went out. The mail didn't go out until Monday, which I didn't receive it until Tuesday. How many days left is there?
Oh, is this a quiz? 2. Okay.
There's only 2 days. If I were to have more issues on my property, like some people do, I mean, some people, you know, especially after wintertime, come springtime, they're getting around to start cleaning it up. But that only leaves 2 days. That actually only leaves 1 day, because in that way, they've got that day to go ahead and clean it up, and if they're working, they can't really get to it. And then the following day, they come out to re-inspect. Well, what are you supposed to do within that 1 day? And what really, really bothered me so much about this is that they took pictures while somebody was standing there, and they never bothered to contact that person, the property owner, or anything. Total disrespect for the citizens of this community. I'm asking you to change that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Taves. As you see that the city manager is taking notes on your complaint, and I guarantee you that the people in neighborhood services will hear of it. So your complaint will be duly noted.
I called and I spoke with Paula Baker. She denied that there was a picture taken behind somebody's back. This picture, this photograph that I have here, is from code enforcement. You can see somebody clearly standing there. They had no clue that the code enforcement was taking a picture. The other 4 pictures were taken hidden from view from that person. And these were the previous 4 pictures. This one was taken, the last photograph, as they took off and went down the street. I have video camera and surveillance systems around my property. I watched how fast he took that picture and took off. No bother and no respect. Everybody here has my phone number. They could call me and say, hey, you got the code violation, go clean it up. I'm out there immediately. That, to me, is respect. And I'll get out there immediately and clean it up. My weeds get a little, I got beds on the backside of my property. I don't get over there that often. My weeds get a little tall, give me a call. That's all I'm asking. I don't need to go through this so-called courtesy notice, yet they give you 1 day to get it done. If you're going to give out the courtesy notices, give them out send it out on a Monday, count it from that day, because it's still going to take you a day to get it. Extend that time.
Okay. Would you turn those pictures over, or are you keeping them, or give them to the city manager or the city attorney? Okay.
You can see where they took the pictures right there from the backside. See the gentleman standing right there? This is the left. They never notified. If I would have been notified on that Friday, no problem, get it all done. By the time the 7th day would have been up, everything was fine. But I had basically 1, maybe 2 days. Do you want them? You guys got a copy of it. Don't bother. Property's already been taken care of. That's just the disrespect for the people. And that's what irritates and aggravates a lot of the people with the code enforcement. Please, change it. Make this code enforcement out there somebody that the people want to talk to, not somebody that they hate. Thank you. Have a good day.
Mr. Taves, would you, Mr. Benson has a question for you.
Really, this is a question for Mr. Gaylor. Is there anything in our municipal code regarding the timing, where if it's a time limit of 7 days, that intervening Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays don't count? Anything like that in our code?
No, there's not a provision that those days don't count. It's a total of that number of days. So we'll check into it and see what has transpired here, though.
Okay, well, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Taves.
7 days is enough time. That's more than ample time. Don't get me wrong. It's just a mailing. When they do it on a Friday, and then you don't get it until Tuesday, and then you got Wednesday, and then they're going to come back out and inspect Thursday. Okay? Have a good day.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes for the March 17, 2014 minutes, for the motion for the March 2014 minutes. Can I get a motion? Mr. McAdowney?
Move to approve the meeting minutes of March 17, 2014.
Ms. Carson?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those
disapprove, same sign. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is the consent agenda. The consent agenda includes items that are routine, procedural, informational, self-explanatory, and non-controversial. They are presented to the council for a single motion and vote. Any member of council may ask to remove any specific item for further discussion and a separate vote. Tonight, we have 3 items listed under consent agenda. Does anyone on the council wish to remove any of those items? Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda? Mr. Amador?
Move to approve the consent agenda as provided.
Mr. Douglas? I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Would the city attorney please read the titles?
Title of Resolution 2014-50, Resolution approving lease agreement with Commerce City Historical Society and changing name of Counter Center. Title of Resolution 2014-60, Resolution appointing members to designated boards and commissions of Commerce City. Title of Resolution 2014-61, Resolution approving lease agreement with Commerce City Cultural Council, Inc. That's the consent agenda, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call vote? Okay, we have 8 yeses, 1 excuse, and no nos. So the consent agenda is approved. Mr. City Attorney, do we need a motion to approve the absence of the mayor, to excuse his absence?
He mentioned at the last meeting that he would be absent, but I think it would be advisable to have that for the minutes, so I would say let's do that.
Okay. Can I get a motion for the, Mr. Benson?
Move to have the mayor excused from attendance at this meeting due to his attendance at the International Shopping Center Convention.
Mr. McAdowney? Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, next we have a public hearing, CU 104-14. Public hearings, open public hearing. We invite the staff to make their presentation. Who will be giving the staff's presentation?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, Paul Workman will be making the presentation tonight.
Okay. Is there any reason why Mr. Workman doesn't have a jacket? Mr. Workman, just because the mayor's here, is that the reason that we're coming informal this evening?
No, sir. You caught me. I forgot it at home. I wish I had a better excuse for you. You got me.
Okay, Mr. Workman. Okay, guess we're all going to take off.
City council.
Okay, thank you. Just messing with you.
That's okay. I have a sneaking suspicion that that wasn't just you. So. That's okay.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Even without my jacket, it's a pleasure to be here this evening once again. There is one public hearing this evening. It's case CU-104-14. The applicant is Groendyke Transport for property currently known as Tract D of the Marty Farms PUD. Subject property, as I just mentioned, is located in the Marty Farms Industrial Development. We have East 93rd Place to the north, future Yosemite Street to the east, the FedEx facility located to the west, and then the Frico ditch to the south. This is an aerial of a little up-close version of it. Again, the site's currently undeveloped, East 93rd Place to the north, future Yosemite Street to the east, the ditch to the south, and then the FedEx facility located to the west. Groendyke Transport currently does operate in the city of Commerce City. Their address is 9751 East 104th Avenue. They've been at that location since 1995. Between 1995 and 2007, they were in unincorporated Adams County, In 2007, as part of the Northern Enclave industrial annexations, the property was brought into the city of Commerce City. While they were in unincorporated Adams County, they operated under a PUD that specifically allowed their uses. And at this point, Groendyke has been successful enough and grown enough that they've outgrown this facility. They enjoy the city of Commerce City and the benefits that we offer, and so they would really like to stay here, which is why they've submitted the application this evening. The application is a conditional use permit request, but there are three separate asks, if you will. The first is a reduction in the floor area ratio from 0.15 to 0.05. The second is an increase in the maximum front setback from 80 feet to 135 feet. And the third would be to allow the operation of the transportation terminal where the vehicles have the flammable, explosive, hazardous, or highly toxic materials. It is a little bit unusual for Planning Commission and City Council to hear requests number 1 and 2. Typically, those are heard by the Board of Adjustment through the variance process. However, this particular planned unit development has very specific language that does require the approval of City Council for any reduction in the FAR or any change in any other bulk standard. Those are notes 13, 14, and 17 taken directly from the PUD. The specific request, number 1, is that the applicant states that the nature of their operations require additional space for the parking and maneuvering of their large trucks and trailers. Given that need, they are unable to meet the minimum 0.15 FAR requirement. In terms of analysis of the first request, the Planning Commission felt that as required by the PUD, the applicant has provided their additional 5% landscaping along the street frontages. And additionally, the development of the property as a transportation terminal for these sorts of vehicles really does need additional room for maneuvering and parking in order to ensure safety on the site. And this is the site plan that's been submitted by the applicant. This is the north half of the site, so 93rd Place would be on the top of the screen with future Yosemite Street on the right-hand side. As you can see, there is additional landscaping located along those street frontages, and then the additional parking, maneuvering, and additional space for their large vehicles. And this is the south end of the site, again with the additional landscaping along future right-of-way. Again, additional maneuvering and parking areas with a very significant detention pond located on the very southern end of the subject property. The second request this evening is an increase in the maximum building setback. The applicant's making this request in order to ensure safe operations both on their property and in the public right-of-way. The applicant needs to set their building back more than 80 feet in order to ensure that, which is more than the PUD would allow for. And this is an enhanced view of the entrance and exit of the facility. There is only one way to get in and out of the property. The applicant is extremely adamant about placing their proposed gate at 75 feet from the actual right-of-way, the curb essentially, of the public right-of-way. The reason for that is it allows a truck and trailer that's entering the site to pull completely off of 93rd Place before they would have to wait for this gate to open. And then additionally, as a truck or trailer exit the facility, it allows for them to completely clear this gate without waiting for any traffic in 93rd Place. One of the reasons why they need to set the building back an additional 50 feet is to make this right-hand turn off of this gate. In order to make this a safe movement, they had to provide some additional space between the building and that gate. So that's where the 135 feet comes from. And in analyzing the second request, the Planning Commission felt that the building setback is tied to the proposed gate location, which does facilitate safe conditions for trucks and trailers that are entering and leaving the facility while maintaining a safe turning radius into the parking lot for more traditional vehicles. The third request is the approval of the operation for a transportation terminal for these vehicles that carry the flammable, explosive, hazardous, or highly toxic materials. The Groendyke fleet does carry gasoline, diesel fuel, liquid asphalt, ethanol, methanol, sulfuric acid, and any other chemical that may be requested by a customer. The important note is that this is not a change from what's currently going on their facility. This is just simply a relocation of everything they do now. In terms of analyzing this request, the Planning Commission felt that Groendyke was an established leader in their industry with a track record for operating safely, that they've documented that they are up to date with all of their necessary permits, and that there have been no indications that there existing no incidents reported at their existing locations within the last year. In terms of outside agency review, there were three critical review entities, the first being Tri-County Health. Tri-County has no additional comments on this particular application. The South Adams County Fire Protection District indicated that they will need to have a fully automatic sprinkler system and an alarm system, which they fully intend to do. And the third and final was from the Farmers Reservoir and Irrigation Company, who simply responded that the documents that they need for review aren't finalized yet, and that they have no problem waiting until the design is further along before they review their plans in detail. To date, staff has not been contacted by anyone regarding this particular application. And on May 6th of this year, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to forward a favorable recommendation to the City Council for all three requests, subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report. With that, that would conclude staff's presentation, and we certainly are available to answer any questions you all may have.
Are there any questions for Mr. Workman? Mr. McAdowney, is your light on? Okay.
No questions. I mean, in reviewing the narrative and the minutes from the Planning Commission, it looks like a very thorough plan. The suggested adjustments make perfect sense. Thank you very much for walking that through.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Workman. Now, they're going to relocate from, or they're going to keep 104th location plus additional?
No, sir. This will be their new location. My understanding is that they are interested in selling their existing location.
Okay.
Mr. Amador?
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. For the floor area ratio, the building seems smaller in the building footprint, but to be able to maybe get to the floor area ratio, we would be able to go up, correct?
I'm sorry, be able to increase?
You'd be able to increase the floor by floor?
Yes, that is correct. Yes, the second story would count. That is correct.
And the reason that we're not going to the Board of Adjustment is simply for the floor area ratio because of the verbiage in there, correct?
That's correct. Normally, these sorts of requests are heard by the board, but there is specific language that would trump our traditional requirements, whereas the proposed building setback and the FAR reduction are required to be approved by City Council.
I would like to commend the planning board or our planning department for making this a friendly place to do business. I'm sure that the applicant has worked with the city and our staff, short of sending you to point A to point B to point C. It's refreshing to know that that our staff does know the code and how to maneuver for the sake of the applicant. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other councils? Mr. Douglas?
Yeah, I just want to add that I think this is a great location for them to move, being that 104th is going to be widened for safety concerns. So.
Yeah, there certainly are some real advantages to this new location.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now I will invite the applicant to come forward if he has any additional information and or questions for the applicant from council. Or if you give your name and address for the record.
Yes, good evening. My name is Keith Hensel. I reside at 1800 28th Street, Boulder, Colorado. I am the applicant's civil engineer. We do not have any new or additional testimony to give. We reviewed the staff report and concur with its findings, but we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have this evening.
Does anyone from the council have any questions for the applicant? Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to ask anyone in the audience if they would like to come forward and address the council that is for or against this application. Seeing none, close the public hearing. I will now ask for a motion from council to accept the facts, the findings and recommendations of the Planning Commission. Mr. McAdowney.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I would move that the council accept the facts and findings of the Planning Commission.
Mrs. Carson?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
As a unanimous vote. Okay, now I will ask for a motion to approve the conditional use permit. Ms. Carson.
So moved.
Mr. McAdowney. Second. I have a motion and a second. Would the city attorney please read the title?
Title of CU-104-14 reads, Conditional Use Permit for the Operation of a Transportation Terminal for Trucks Carrying Flammable and Hazardous Materials, as well as a reduction in the floor area ratio and an increase in the maximum front setback requirement in conjunction with the operation of said terminal in case CU-104-14.
Okay, we've had a motion and a second. The title's been read. This can be done by voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That is a unanimous vote. Thank you. You have your conditional use permit. Okay, next on the agenda is our resolutions. Our first resolution is Resolution 2014-59. I would like to invite the staff forward with their presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and members of council. Jim Hayes, Deputy City Manager, representing the Economic Development Division tonight. As you know, they are both, our staff of two is down at the International Shopping Center Conference with our mayor tonight. But I'm very pleased I've got the opportunity to present a request for incentives for a new restaurant in the Reunion Marketplace on 104th Avenue. The name of the restaurant is Native Grill and Wings. Just a little bit about that company. They started in 1979 when the Anderson family moved from Buffalo, New York to Arizona, introducing wings to that market for the first time. And a huge success down there. And in 1993, they began franchising their restaurant, and now they have 27 locations, including their first location in Highlands Ranch in Colorado. In 2014, they officially changed their name to Native Grill and Wings, which is the company that's before you tonight. Give you some indication about where this would potentially be located. This is the King Soopers Reunion Marketplace at Chambers and 104th Avenue. So you can see some of the retailers that have already landed in this location. Of course, the McDonald's on the corner, Ace Hardware, the Papa Murphy's and Sport Clips up next to the main anchor. And then this would be the pad site just east of the fuel station, right next to the signal there on 104th Avenue. So as you know, there are frequent inquiries and requests from residents for more sit-down restaurants, especially in this part of town. And we're very pleased to present this tonight in hoping that Native Grill and Wings will meet this demand. While it is known for its wings, it does have a very diverse menu, offering something for everyone. They like to be known as a polished sports grill that offers really a family-friendly environment as well as for sports enthusiasts. They have 19 flavors of wings, and you can order them by the each as opposed to half dozen and dozen as some of the other places here in town. We expect the applicant also to apply for a restaurant hotel liquor license. Currently, there are none of those in the area that would prohibit that application. So about the project and the incentives, it'll be construction of a 6,250 square foot restaurant with outdoor patio, estimated $2.3 million in capital investment, and around 70 jobs at this location. We're not sure of the split between full-time and part-time, but we did calculate that 3 of the jobs would exceed the county average of $45,000, so those are eligible for incentives. The rest would be a combination then of full-time and part-time. I want to point out that this really is the next step in their process, but this is no guarantee that this restaurant is going to locate in Commerce City. So I think it's important and relevant to point out that there's still negotiations between the franchisee, the developer, and the property owner that still need to be completed. They need to complete their contract and close on the property. Of course, they will then start real plans underway for planning and developing the site and then, of course, building the restaurant. And if the City Council approves this incentive tonight, the applicant will have 18 months from the incentive approval to start their capital improvement, which we typically trigger when a building permit is applied for. And you may also ask, why should we provide incentives for this type of use? We have a standard incentive program, and this meets all of those requirements. It meets a community need and demand for a sit-down restaurant. They have stated incentives are important to make the deal work. For those of you familiar with the King Soopers incentives that we offered, it is multi-layered, including Shea, the Metro District, et cetera. And so they are also putting their money into this deal to make it work. And so we look at this as part of the big capital stack, if you will, to get this deal done. And again, the incentives do comply with the current program. How does this work? Again, there's no money provided up front. It's based on their performance and funded through rebates or refunds of taxes and fees that are generated by the new business. So the actual amount of incentives are going to be determined based on a final project audit, which can occur up to 3 years after the building is constructed. But we do have some estimates that we've included in your packet tonight. So the first one is prospective business incentives, and I'm not going to go through these numbers in great detail, but you can see that we do provide rebates of building permit and plan check fees, also a rebate of the non-dedicated sales and use tax on capital investment, as well as an additional add-on fee rebate if you use Commerce City suppliers and or vendors. We estimate this amount of incentive at about $20,000. There are job creation incentives. I mentioned there's 3 full-time jobs that would pay above the county wage, so we're estimating those will get an incentive of $500 per job. If those jobs are filled with Commerce City residents, that is doubled to $1,000 per job. So we estimate these could be as low as $1,500 and as high as $3,000 as an incentive. And then the last one is a new sit-down restaurant incentive, again, where we do a 50% rebate of non-dedicated sales tax during the first and second years of operation, and we estimate these to be around $80,000. So the grand total is around $105,000. Again, this is estimated based on our worksheets and the information provided by the applicant. Again, they're paid based on the capital investment, the jobs that are created, sales tax generated, and could be higher or lower than the above estimate. So with that, we're open to any questions and request your consideration of the resolution tonight.
Okay. Do I have any questions from anybody from council? Mr. McAdowning.
Comment. I didn't realize until I read the agenda over the weekend and the presentation that this was the native New Yorker for anyone that has lived in Arizona. It's a quick recognition. This was an epic local facility around the Arizona State University campus and legendary wings. So it was exciting to see. It's been great to see them evolve over time. It's a phenomenal operation. So this is exciting news. Thank you.
Mr. Douglas.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. Just so this was an attraction from Shea, right? As far as drawing this restaurant in, or was that the city?
It's a great question. I'm glad you asked. We actually were contacting the broker for this restaurateur last year at ICSC. We had an appointment with him. He was having some challenges with the site that he was looking at, and we put him in contact with Shea, made that introduction, and they've been working on this deal since then. So I don't think we can take full credit for an ICSC lead here or prospect, but we definitely helped make that match, and so Shea is trying to get it to the finish line.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Benson?
Jim, what is your best guess or estimate about the timing?
That's unknown at this point. I know that they do like to open these restaurants during football season or prior to football season, so depending on how long their construction is and when they actually ink the deal, we'd hope that they would start construction in 2015.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Amador?
Thank you for the presentation, Jim. Again, with all the things going on in the city, with 2K, with economic development, this is definitely one of those projects where you look at it and see the need for the residents up north. In my opinion, this is a small request on the incentives for what the city will gain back for our residents, and the need of a sit-down restaurant to be able to not have to drive all over the place or the metro area, if you will. So good job. Again, I know how much stress we're putting on staff, as a council with the vision that we're trying to accomplish and the things that we have going on. So good job again.
Well, thank you. And again, I'm the spokesperson tonight. I'll pass that along to the Economic Development team because they're the ones who've been working very hard on this. But thank you.
Any other comments from council? Okay. I ask if anyone in the audience would like to address council on this item. Okay, seeing none, I ask for a motion on the above resolution 2014-59. Mr. McAdowney?
Would move to approve Resolution 2014-59.
Ms. Carson?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Mr. City Attorney, would you please read the title?
Title reads, Resolution Approving Business Incentive for Nave Grill and Wings, Commerce City, LLC.
Okay, I have a motion and second. The title's been read. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That's a unanimous vote. Thank you. Okay, the next thing we have is ordinance on first reading. Our ordinance on first reading is ordinance 2007, an ordinance amending the 2014 budget of the City of Commerce City. Anyone on council have any questions about this ordinance? Is there anyone in the audience that has any questions or would like to address council about this ordinance? Is there anyone at home who would like to give a call in? Okay. Okay. Can I get a motion from council?
Title, Mr. Mayor?
Let me get a motion first.
Okay.
Mr. Amador?
Move to approve ordinance 2007 on first reading.
Mr. Benson?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and second. Mr. City Attorney, would you please read the title?
Title reads, An ordinance amending the 2014 budget of the City of Commerce City, Colorado by the recognition of the Colorado Department of Transportation grant in the amount of $3,400 for click-it or ticket efforts and the authorization of the expenditure thereof.
Okay, the title's been read. Could we get a roll call vote, please? Oh, I pushed it. Okay, it's a unanimous 8 with one excuse. 8 yeses, 1 excuse. Okay, so that's passed. Thank you. Next on our agenda is presentations. Our first presentation this evening is the Senior Advisory Committee. We invite the committee members to step forward and make their presentation. Who's representing? Oh, okay.
Let me know when you're ready and I'll flip it over. Ready?
No, push the button and you'll be on.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Well, my name is Derek Tripp, and I am the Recreation Supervisor working with Senior Services. I wanted to thank you all very much for allowing our Senior Advisory Committees to stand before you and to present our 2014 goals. These groups put a lot of hard work in throughout the year, providing feedback, suggestions, program ideas, and volunteering their time to help make our senior services area one of the best in the Denver metro. The 2014 goals, which each committee set for themselves, come mostly from a senior focus group session that took place on February 4th. The focus group involved 20 participants and 5 staff who provided feedback, resulting in a number of action items assigned to the senior advisory committees and senior services area. This was a presentation format with open floor discussion, utilizing voting clickers to voice opinions privately, as well as stickers to vote in a group setting. The purpose of the focus group was to involve the interested seniors in small group discussions to identify gaps and solutions for bridging those gaps, which promote positive change, communication, and participation. We have representatives from each of our senior advisory committees who will talk more about the specific goals that have been set for 2014. First to speak will be Jenny Loveridge, representing the program committee. Jenny.
How about now? Thank you, Derek. Good evening. My name is Jenny Loveridge. I am a senior volunteer advisor. I represent the program committee. I would like to thank the council members for letting us update our goals for 2014. At this time, I would like to introduce our volunteers in the program committee. Martha Applegarth, Thelma Cole, Joanne Hart, Leora Richards, Shirley Valentine, Tilly Villarreal, and I for participating. And I'd also like to thank staff Vicki Masters, Zach Roth, and Derek Tripp. Our program committee goals for 2014 are holiday dinner meals for homebound with no close family, new local caterer for 2014 and donation programs, expanding the drop-in program, continuing the outreach program, events to work with health and wellness on Forever Young, plan events similar to the Elvis birthday and new entertainment, have day trips to other senior communities, explore what they have to offer. Education classes would consist of creating wills, technology, computer training, cooking information to be health and conscious. Our efforts are to help our members to be wise, healthy, and creative, and to keep on moving, exploring new venues in life to increase the joy of life. And I thank you once again. At this time, I would like to introduce Sandy Carruthers for the outreach update. Sandy?
Thank you, Jenny. Good evening, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and council members. It's May, so we're back like clockwork. I'd like to, just as an aside, it's what a joy to be here on a night that the meeting starts with a hall filled with the enthusiasm and energy of youth, and now you're going to hear from the other end of the spectrum. Joining me on the outreach committee are, and as I say your name, if you're here tonight, please raise your hand, stand up, do something to acknowledge your presence. So with a drum roll, Liz Boyd, Sherry Shamokas, Maxine Galindo, Al Hart, Linda Wolf, and Francis Lachek. Our staff liaisons are Derek Tripp, our new supervisor, and Jody Hardy, our new Parks and Recreation Communication supervisor. I guess you could say they're kind of getting the baptism by fire, but they're up to it, and they're already running with us, and we welcome them. The purpose of our committee is to assist staff with planning, coordinating, and leading our outreach efforts to target older adults and seniors in the Commerce City area. Our mission is to foster a welcoming, inclusive, and active senior center and older adult programming. How do we reach those goals? Well, you take the title of our committee and reverse it and make it into 2 words. You change outreach to reach out. And that's exactly what we're doing with our efforts to recruit new members and retain current members. So our outreach goals include continuing our core activity of having a presence at such community events as those listed on your slide tonight. And you'll once again see us out in full force at the 2 neighborhood outreach picnics. We're going to actively use print and media methods to do outreach. We'll have ads and articles in the local newspapers, newsletters, and brochures. We'll be developing new marketing tools as we go along. We're going to have a real focus on developing better signage and outreach right at our own recreation center. We need to do a much better job of that. As always, a major goal is to recruit new participants. We've already designed and developed a new thank you postcard that we'll have with incentive and survey to new participants. This will be mailed out to participants that are attending for the first time one of our older adult programs, and the idea is to encourage them to continue participating. We're planning on making follow-up calls from committee members to find out more about them and let them know more about us. We are going to complete our welcome packet. The key word there is welcome, and this is a project that we started at the end of last year, and we're finishing it up. We're going to be doing it upright, so this will really be a hot new outreach tool that we use. The purpose of this is to provide consistent messaging to potential new members. In this development of our welcome plan, we're going to have a key focus on involving our own front desk volunteers in this process, because after all, they are the people that are on the front line when new members come into the center. And we are also going to do some planning to celebrate those very front desk volunteers and recognize them. Part of this process will also be developing a new frequently asked question sheet that all of us can use to better inform people and the public about our center and programs. So again, thank you. We will be back at the end of this year to report on our progress. And now I would like to introduce Beth Scott, and she's going to update you on our Health and Wellness Committee. Beth?
Thank you, Pro Tem Mayor. It's funny calling you that. I call you Renee. As well as the rest of you council members, we're always glad to toot our horn, and we're so glad you listen. We've had many compliments about our program from people outside of Adams County, and they think that we have the greatest bunch in the world supporting us, and I do too. On with the show. As they said, I'm one of the Health and Wellness Committee, and I'm also one of the front desk gals. So I have double duty. Helping us with our health and wellness is a brand new member. His name is Glenn Batista, and we're really glad to have him. And if he'd stand up, I don't want you to look at him because he's going to be around a while. We're going to keep him. The other members are Janet Kesey. If you come into the center at the big desk out in the middle, Janet's the one that knows everything. Also, we have Ollie Grimmard and George Maxey and me, of course. Our purpose is to do what needs to be done as far as being in touch with Glenn, who is our boss, and Zach, who is even another boss. We have so many bosses. Goodness. And to think I've bossed a bunch in my 81 years. We plan on continuing the Forever Young event. I think some of you will remember the big colorful board in the recreation room. We're going to continue that. Hopefully, we will be coming up with other fun games because we still like fun. That never gets old. And I'm going to try to get the older adult taken off of our window because we're seniors. We're ready to graduate to something bigger and better. We're not old. We're also planning on having medical idea sharing of home remedies, the cost of them, where we can locate them. We all have something that Grandma used to do to make us well. So we hope we can come up with some good home remedies. And we're going to continue the dietitian tours, which was really gracefully presented to us by King Supers, who taught us how to read boxes and cans and calories and all that good stuff that some of us really still haven't got a hold of yet. The biggest thing I feel that we've come up with is setting an example for the senior community. After all, we learn by example. And being seniors twice, maybe 2, 3 times, or 4 times, we definitely are setting examples for you and the ones younger. Thank you again for hearing from us, and George Maxey will wrap it up for the Umbrella Committee.
Councilors, I'm George Maxey, volunteer advisor, speaking for the overarching Umbrella Committee made up of Sherry Kromokas, Ali Grimald, Jenny Loveridge, Leora Richard, Beth Scott, Linda Wolf, and myself. The purpose of the Umbrella Committee is to analyze and offer advice regarding the actions of our various committees with the intent of communicating new ideas to and from those committees, thus enhancing communications between all participants, users, staff, City Council, providers, and the advisory committee members. In our committees, our planning is to address actions to improve safety and pleasure for all those involved, thus the quality of life. The first thing we do as a senior center, as a government, as a society, is to arrange the things that give our participants pleasure, to love them emotionally. In fact, it could be described as loving people back into the world of socialization with friends that care. The great happenings we anticipate are often built from what only seemed like dreams at first. Passion and education are required, but common sense has to come into the equation as well. Proper economic control, a good concept, knowing the market, execution, and a bit of luck. That is the basic formula. To this end, we are taking a marketing approach, researching to understand our target market, current facilities, resources, and existing competitions for people's time. This effort extends to the potential participants base in our community, what they do, how they do it, and what their generic long-term goals are that coincide with what we currently offer. Armed with this information we have gained and using first-hand knowledge of what we offer, we are structuring our efforts to utilize location, equipment, services, staff, and time to attain our goals of making this a better community and recreation center for all. Thank you for your time and interest. May I now have our speakers and staff come to the podium to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, do I have any questions from any of our counselors? Mr. McAdowney?
No questions, just a comment, and I don't want to sound like a broken record every time you come up here, but I'm always so impressed with how well these updates go. I mean, in terms of the preparation, obviously everyone is so very sincere about this effort, and I think that passion just is contagious, and I always am excited to hear the update and see what's going on, and the energy that you guys put into leading us and showing us what's possible when people that are properly motivated come together. I'm always very excited about what you guys are doing, so thank you, as always.
Ms. Carson?
I don't have any questions either. I just want to say thank you to all of you that put in your time and hard work to make sure that we have really good programs for seniors and that you're constantly improving on them. So thank you to all of you. Without your hard work and everything, then I'm not sure where the program would be. And as Mr. McEldowney said, your presentations are really quite informative. Really enjoy them, so thank you very much. And Ms. Scott, I think you are their boss. I don't think you remember that. So, okay, thank you.
Ms. Douglas?
Yes, thank you, committee, for your presentation. It's always great to hear you, everyone, and everyone's participating that's shown up here. Just wanted to say that we do have an aging population here in Commerce City that needs to be recognized, and I commend you, seniors, for keeping this program going, because every year we add more seniors. As youth come in, the seniors go up. So I appreciate everything you guys have done. I've seen on the calendar, you guys are going to be going, or some of you are going to be going to San Francisco. I think that's going to be a wonderful opportunity for seniors to see California, and the cost involved is very affordable. So thank you for all your time and effort.
Mr. Amador?
I'd just like to echo what...
I'd like to add something. I was going to add it, but it just hit a senior moment there. I want to invite all of you to come by the center and see what we're doing. Find out when we have some special occasion, like we play bunco on the second Tuesday of every month. And it's a full house, and it's exciting, and it's fun to see, and you are all invited to come roll the dice with us.
Yes, I agree. I actually was there last Tuesday. Most of us, a few of us, was there for Boys and Girls Club, and that was over. You guys were playing bunco, so yes.
Also, too, we'd like to thank you guys for taking your time to squeeze us in.
I just want to echo what everyone has said, and I know that you touched on there's an emotional aspect to what you're doing, and I think sometimes in the shuffle that gets lost, that we're all human beings, and we need that emotional aspect. And I also want to commend you on how positive you are. I know sometimes people may get, as they get older, if you will, and I'm careful with that. They get cynical, so you guys are very positive, and so I just want to say thank you.
Okay. I would also like to thank you for your presentation this evening, but like to thank you all the time for everything you do, because it's not just a presentation. I see the things that you do when you don't think anyone's looking. So, thank you from this council, and thank you from this city, because a lot of people don't know all the time and effort and volunteer hours that you do put in that make this a better city. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next presentation is going to be our legislative recap session. And this was a good year.
Well, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. So it was a pretty good year when you think about it, when we're all said and done. So what I wanted to do is just walk through the legislative session and talk about some of the things that we did, as well as the next steps that we have in our legislative program. So our goals for 2014 were really to develop strong working relationships with our Commerce City delegation. As you recall from a presentation we did earlier this year, we have 3 primary representatives, and then we have the broader Adams County. So our focus was really to develop great working relationships with the 3 individuals who represent Commerce City down at the state capitol. We also wanted to make sure that we are articulating the policy positions adopted by City Council, and also advocating support or opposition to legislation that affected Commerce City. We also wanted to make sure that our legislative program was really about being engaged year-round, not just during those 5 months of session. So one of the first things we really did, and you all led the way on this, was creating a council legislative subcommittee. And the mayor pro tem, and Councilman Douglas served on that committee, and several of you dropped in here and there, depending on the topic. The role of that committee is really to anticipate and proactively address our federal and state and regional legislation policies to really protect the Home Rule Charter and protect the interests of the city. So there's a wide variety of responsibilities that you all agreed this committee should have, and I think overall the committee worked pretty well. But I would defer to you, and we'll be reviewing that in a study session later this summer. As a committee, staff reviewed and identified legislation to monitor consistent with the approved policy statement. The legislative subcommittee really did meet weekly during the last 5 months, and I want to commend those of you who hung in there every week in and week out, because it was a tremendous commitment. That legislative subcommittee received a tracking sheet, was looking at the text and status, and really helping affirm or make recommendations on policy positions on behalf of the city. We often reviewed the pros and cons and had some very active discussions as to where we thought Commerce City should be. And another thing that the subcommittee did is not only make recommendations on the positions, but they also approved testimony on behalf of the city. And so that was a really well-coordinated effort, and members of the subcommittee would testify down at the state capitol, or they would approve staff to go on their behalf and represent the city. So all in all, that was a pretty useful process. The other things that we've done from a legislative program perspective, I just wanted to put these in perspective. We held our first legislative reception, if you recall, back in December, where we got a chance to really spend some one-on-one quality time with our legislators. We created our policy positions booklet to mirror the federal advocacy booklet that we go to D.C. with every year. We've created that staff committee. We coordinated and drafted testimony. We've provided weekly reporting to you as City Council, and also created a legislative section of the City Council website, so during session folks could see what bills we were tracking, as well as the positions that we were taking. We actively participated in the Colorado Municipal League meetings and the Metro North Chamber Business and Government Affairs Committee. And then this last session, we worked really closely with Broomfield and Parker, who had similar interests on urban renewal, and made sure we had an issue-specific lobbyist to make sure our position was protected at the state capitol. So we had 9 areas that there were policy positions on, and this is, again, in the booklet that all of you have. It's also online, and this was adopted back in November, December, if you recall, prior to meeting with our representatives. And within each of those areas, we had some pretty good wins in general, or some opportunities that we can take advantage of moving forward. So specifically about the session, this was the 69th session of the General Assembly. It's 120 days. Democrats are in control of the governor's office, the House, and the Senate. There were 621 bills introduced this year. We tracked 92 of them. We actively supported 2 bills, and we really actively opposed 4 bills. That doesn't mean we didn't support or oppose some of those 92 bills, but in terms of working and really advocating and spending and investing time and resources, it was really about 6. And so I'm going to go through those a little bit to let you know the outcome. So first of all, the ones that we supported, first one was House Bill 1164. That was election law changes that passed. If you recall, it was an early bill in the session to make special district elections and municipal elections a little bit easier. We really want to thank City Clerk Bauer for her leadership in helping provide some insight into how that law benefits us and our counterparts. Again, it was an early win that the governor signed because there were municipal elections in April that took advantage of this. The other bill that we actively supported was Senate Bill 220. This was run by Senator Ulibarri, owner-occupied construction defects. This bill would have made it much easier to construct multifamily owner-occupied housing, not only around transit-oriented development stations like our new station at 72nd in Colorado, but also some of the multifamily that we have zoned up north and in other parts of the community. While it passed out of committee, it failed procedurally. It was introduced too late, but it really probably was the bill of the session that had a lot of topic and discussion about. It just couldn't get there at the end. We also actively opposed 4 bills. The first one was Senate Bill 181, red light cameras. This bill was postponed indefinitely or died in appropriations. This was really important to us, and Commerce City was often touted as having the safety reason for why these red light cameras exist. And our 7-legged intersection was really the poster child for why a flat-out ban of red light cameras was a bad idea. So kudos to Chief Smith and Commander Baker and the entire police department for their work. Senate Bill 17 was a state preemption of local development. There was some state desires to determine how much water or how much plantings should be done in different development areas. Our community development department, Chris Kramer, did a great job of talking about what we already do to make sure that we're water-wise, along with other local governments. That bill was ultimately modified to be a study committee during the summer, so it was approved, and we will obviously work to be a part of that interim study committee this summer. We dropped our opposition once that was done. House Bill 1061 was eliminating jail to pay fines. This was a bill that got a lot of press about, if you called debtor's prison. There were other communities, not Commerce City, that were following that practice. We worked really closely with the police department and our municipal judge to try to get amendments to address some of the concerns that we had. It was modified to address most of the administrative issues, and so we dropped our opposition, and that bill moved forward and was approved. And then the last bill is House Bill 1375, which was urban renewal. This bill was another late bill, but unlike Senate Bill 220, it actually moved through and was passed. We had great support from Representative Moreno, Representative May, and Senator Ulibarri to make amendments that would benefit and protect our investments in the Greyhound Park and Victory Crossing. The bill was amended to extend the effective dates, so we have some much more time, till January of 2015 to make decisions about how we move forward on those key urban renewal areas in our community. And it also clarified, there were also some clarifying amendments on what the tax increment would be applicable to. If you remember, this is the bill that had a requirement to match whatever the county put in terms of property tax. So this bill is awaiting the governor's signature, and he has 30 days to do so. There were other results that I think are beneficial, some beneficial and some not to Commerce City. On the economic development side, in terms of your policy statement, there were numerous tax credits that were passed and are being signed or have been signed by the governor that we can take advantage of. For example, the Brownfields tax credit or the advanced manufacturing tax credits could be beneficial to seeking companies to come into Commerce City or do more work at the Greyhound Park. We did see affordable housing funded through the state, and we have some, we have some water bills as well, that, the water study, sorry, there's a Y that's missing, some water studies that we will participate in. So from a municipal land use and development perspective, that's good. On sales and use tax, there really weren't any major changes, but the one change or one recommendation that did come out was a joint resolution to talk about uniform definitions and a request that cities lead that effort. So that's, instead of being mandated by the state, it's a request through a resolution. So we'll be working with the Colorado Municipal League on that. In terms of state mandates, there were changes made to the open records policies. The good news is we're pretty compliant with what was already passed. So, but it should make it easier for individuals to obtain public records. On the public safety side, passive surveillance, that was legislation that it puts a limit on how long you can keep red light camera videos or any of those other videos that you see from those globe cameras throughout the state. Felony DUI was a bill that failed, which would have made it a felony conviction if you had multiple DUIs. That did not pass. On the transportation side, there was a bill that passed to place additional requirements on the high-performance transportation enterprise relative to public-private partnerships. We do, and our legislative committee did have concerns about that, specifically around the 35-year time frame that was approved, because it would make that probably very difficult to do projects like 270 with a 35-year limit on a P3 and an approval from the General Assembly. Safe Routes to Schools, which you all know is a federal program, and we were a recent recipient of a grant. The federal program's gone away, but the state has now approved funding for a Safe Routes to School program at the state level, so that's something we can continue to take advantage of. Representative Moreno's towing bill, which the mayor talks about, to eliminate predatory towing, also was approved. And then on the education side, there was increased funds to K-12 and higher education this year. So didn't quite get back to where I think everyone would like it to be, but there were significant investments made. So moving forward, we're really now in as the governor signs bills, we're really in the position of assessing the opportunities or the effects of signed legislation. We're also looking at possibly sending some veto letters, requests, and joining some other individuals on the urban renewal bill and possibly the HPTE. We'll also be engaging and tracking those interim session task force activities. So there are task forces over the summer that we will want to participate in or actively follow. So we'll be working on that this summer. We're also scheduling a subcommittee study session for July. If you recall, this was a test run of not only this committee but other committees, so we'd like to get some feedback from you later this summer about how those worked and what opportunities for improvement you'd like to see or what changes you'd like to make or add. And then we'll be finalizing the summer-fall calendar for legislative engagement. So we'll be looking this summer to engage our legislative colleagues, not only at Dick's Sporting Goods Park, but also with World Lacrosse, and then also making sure we have another legislative reception. So we're continuing to move forward there. But with that, I'd open it up for any questions you have. And thank you.
Okay. Do I have any questions from council members? Okay, Mr. Douglas.
Thank you, Michelle, for that update. Learned a lot by being in that committee. A lot of things happening here that would affect us going forward that didn't happen, and things that could have helped us out that did not happen. But no, overall, it's a great way to be introduced straight up on what's going on. We with red light cameras, and then talking with the folks at State House as well to follow up and ask questions, for asking for support or why was this bill introduced and how it's going to affect if it is approved. So I appreciate how things were set up and being part of that committee. I think out of the 19 weeks, I think we met 14 Mondays, I think was like that. It was a lot. Yes, it was. So to have that commitment on those Mondays at 5 o'clock was rewarding. So I appreciate that. Thanks.
Okay, seeing no one else, I'd like to thank you also, because those were a lot of Mondays, and we became very knowledgeable of what they were doing down at the State House. And some of the things they were doing, we didn't like or approve of, but in the end, it all worked out. So this was a good session for Commerce City, because it could have been a lot worse. So thank you so much for us, and that committee that we set up was really, I think, was one of the better things that this council did, because it helped us get ahead of a lot of things that we would have had to come back and ask council for permission to, and we did go down and testify and have testimony in our behalf. So thank you. Ms. Carson.
Thank you for the presentation, but that's not what my comment is. It's happy birthday to you from myself and the rest of council, so happy birthday, Michelle.
Mr. Teeter.
Yes, thank you, Michelle, for the presentation. I'd also like to thank staff that was involved this year in this committee, as well as the 3 council people that participated. I really believe it was interesting to watch this year and watch you people go down there and bring back these issues. And I just felt that we did a lot this year and get involved with what was going on downtown. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no one else, thank you. Frank. Okay, next on the agenda is administrative council business. First thing under the administrative council business, I am going to ask for a motion to appoint a new alternate to Dr. Cog. I was going to ask you a question, Mr. McAdonney. Are you staying on the MVIC?
This would cause the replacement of the alternate position and a decision by Jim and whoever that new alternate would be as to whether they would sit on the MVIC or not.
Okay. When I was on the MVIC, I was appointed. Do they appoint, or do you guys just get to?
There's a document that I can forward to whomever is appointed by this council to sit as the alternate. If they choose to pursue the MVIC, there's a letter of interest that gets submitted, and then they are able to participate accordingly.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to ask for if anyone wants to step forward and become the alternate on Dr. Cog.
While you're doing that, would it help to give some additional context for what would be required of this individual?
Okay, I think this individual is listening intently. Okay, go right ahead.
Ideally, upon appointment, I would suggest attending as frequently as possible with Mr. Benson at regular board meetings to get a feel for the nature of the dialogue at Dr. Cog. Certainly, you want to follow the agenda and the discussion of the Dr. Cog board proper. If there is interest in serving on MVIC, obviously that becomes even more important because the MVIC functions as an advisory committee to the Dr. Cog board itself. MVIC stands for MetroVision Issues Committee, and I think we've talked a little bit before, and you've heard Jim talk about the guiding document that the Dr. Cog board puts together periodically is the MetroVision. That MetroVision is a future plan for managing growth around the metro area within the Dr. Cog boundaries. So, Jim, we're working on what, the MetroVision 2040 right now is the discussion cycle that we're in right now. Is that correct?
Yes.
So the MVIC is dealing with the discussion around elements for review and edit of that of the prior MetroVision for consideration by the board as adoption within the MetroVision 2040. So at best, you're looking at one Wednesday night a month to attend, along with Jim, the board meeting itself. If you choose to participate in the MVIC as well, that is the first Wednesday of each month from 4 to 6. The board meetings are the third Wednesday, correct, Jim? So that would be this week as an example.
They're 2 weeks apart.
Yep. So first Wednesday is MVIC. 2 weeks later comes the board meeting, and the board meeting is at 6 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Do I have anybody who would like to step forward and be the alternate on Dr. Cog? Mr. Teeter?
Yes, thanks for the update, what it's going to involve. I would like to take that challenge on and be the alternate and give it a whirl.
Okay. I have one. Going once, going twice. Okay, Mr. Teeter. Okay. Okay. I need a motion from council to accept Mr. Teeter as the alternate on Dr. Cog.
I would move that we appoint Mr. Teeter as the alternate to Dr. Cog.
Okay. I need a second.
Second.
Mr. Amador seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Benson?
Yeah. We no longer have a seat on MVIC. You knew that, didn't you?
I did. That's why I've asked for the replacement.
We won't have a membership on MVIC until next year. I mean, Connie sent you about 3 emails.
My understanding from Connie is that we can have this applicant submit their letter of interest.
It's a little late for that, I think, because the chairman appoints those things. I don't.
Well, the alternative,
Like
Jim,
I
is
said,
that
she sent you about 3 emails.
She and I have
saying,
corresponded.
Please let us know. You give us a statement of interest, and I don't know. And I know you didn't go to the May 7th meeting, but
Jim, there's a reason.
Anyway, it'll be. If we do have a member of MVIC, that would be your responsibility, Mr. Teeter, and that's 2 hours a month from 4 to 6. It's not even a nighttime meeting. But as I said, you and I ought to go to the Dr. Cog meeting this Wednesday. I mean, I was hoping to be able to go to the Frontier Park discussion, but I'll go and introduce Rick at the Dr. Cog meeting. But can you commit, at least when we get a membership on MVIC, to go once a month for 2 hours in the afternoon?
I'm sure I can.
Okay, good.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Mr. Amador?
I just want to let the council know that I was interested, but knowing the requirements and the volume of things that I'm involved in right now, it's not in my best interest to take that on or the city. So I just want to say thank you, Rick, for stepping up.
Yes, I also want to say thank you, Rick, for stepping up. And everything will get settled with MVIC and everything. It'll smooth out.
In about a year it will, I think. But I would also like to ask the staff to send a communication to Dr. Cog to let them know that Rick will be the new alternate. They'll get you a name tag, everything.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes, I was considering this as well, but I think Rick stepping up, I appreciate that.
Okay, motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That's a unanimous vote. Thank you. Okay, is there any more administrative council business from anybody on the council? Mr. Amador?
Do you think we could have someone take a look at the ballast on this guy right here that just keeps flashing over and over when we dim the lights? That would be awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody want to say anything about the Miller problem? Okay.
I have one other thing I'd like to ask of the staff.
Okay. Were you finished, Mr. Amador?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Benson?
And at the time that you let Dr. Cog know that Rick is the new alternate, can you make an inquiry about whether it's possible to get our membership back on the MVIC?
Mr. Benson, as I mentioned, if I can interject, I am in correspondence with Connie. I'll be sending Connie, as I told her, a follow-up about this replacement, and I will include in that correspondence the request to see if Rick can sit in that.
All right, I'd like to see that
position.
happen, and for us, because right now MVIC is discussing TIP criteria, which is probably the most important thing that Dr. Cog considers is the TIP financing. We need to have somebody represent us, and I would just ask Rick, if you can't go, let me know and I'll be there. I always covered for Jason whenever he told me you couldn't go. And I'll expect you to cover for me at the Dr. Cog meetings.
Okay.
But that'll be very rare. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Mr. Amador, oh, that was from before, I'm sorry. Anybody else for administrative council business? We're on the home stretch there, folks. Okay, well, we're going to reports. Mr. City Attorney.
I have nothing further, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Very briefly, we sent out this week's edition of the City Manager update. Included in it is an update on the Suncor Boys and Girls Club. It's a summary of the fundraising that occurred at last Thursday's breakfast, plus an overall update on the planned timeline for the construction of the new facility. For those that didn't hear, they did announce last Thursday that they will be initiating construction of the new facility next year, so that's very, very exciting. We also have an update. City staff put together a team in the Colfax Marathon Government Cup Relay. 5 members of city staff represented the City of Commerce City and did an outstanding job. Is Glenn still here? Glenn's probably home resting. Glenn Batista was one of our team members who ran in the marathon. Our team finished 12th out of 102 government co-ed teams, which I think is terrific. So kudos and thanks to them for doing such a terrific job representing the City of Commerce City. We also have an update on capital project signage. We're working on getting some signs installed to identify the capital projects that are underway. We'll share with you details of what the signs look like, so you'll recognize them when they're installed. And then we have our weekly capital improvements program update and a look ahead to the City Council work schedule. So as always, we're happy to answer any questions about the report. Thank you.
Anyone have any questions about the report? Okay, as a councilman and acting mayor, I'm going to ask Mr. Douglas what his report is.
Okay, thank you. Last Monday, since our study session was short, I went over to the Adams 14 STEM meeting for the middle school. I saw what they would like, their vision, very informed as far as what the vision is for the Adams 14 middle school. And then last Friday, I went to Front Range Community College. Ed Perlmutter was there. There was a documentary that was presented of women warriors' vision of valor, and it was really interesting to see all the women that were involved in the military that were really never mentioned in history. So this will be with the Library of Congress as a Veterans History Project, and this started back in 1944. They had women actually flying planes from Chicago. They would transport at night, and there was a lot of things that were against women being involved in the military, and they weren't recognized. And this right here, this stands for WASP. Let me make sure I get the acronym right. But anyway, it really was documentary really focused on the women from the 1950s that were involved in the military that were not honored. So I thought that was really nice. They're going to actually, there was 21 students from Front Range Community College that presented this, and they're going to put it out to 100 high schools around Colorado and in certain universities for women to study about the program. So I thought that was great.
Okay. Did anyone from council make it to the Facility Review Committee for Adams 14 last week? Okay, Ms. Amador, could you give just a slight report on, I just want to make sure that they know in the city that we have a representation on the Facility Review Committee.
So I attended the Facility Review Committee, all my nights blend together now, but last week there was an update on the state of the schools, of what's going on. There was a presentation put together on where and if a bond were to be presented, what might be the vision of a bond of a super middle school, and so there were some graphics that were put out. Short of having a site, I guess my comment would be the bond needs to pass, and we'll leave it right there, short of declaring that they are going for a bond, which it would be in their best interest to declare that as late as possible. Let's see, there were a few community representatives that were there, and I think the ask was that the city try to create better partnerships with the school district on what their vision is. So I also volunteered for the long-range committee for Adams 14. I'm looking for that invite when that happens. But overall, it was kind of just a state of where we are, the students. Actually, they did give an update on the turnaround of where the school district is at. So the school district is not in a turnaround status anymore, so the time clock has stopped. All of the grade levels have turned around except for one, which was, I want to say, third grade, but don't quote me on that one. But all the indicators were positive for Adams 14 at that time. So,
Thank you so much. And the reason I did that is because at a meeting I was at a week or so ago, I was ripped as a mayor pro tem for the city by someone saying that we aren't being actively involved in these committees. And I was trying to tell the person that we are, but it's sometimes when you're talking to a wall, it just doesn't work. But that was my wall, and that was my cross to bear, and I did it for you guys.
Renee, there was, I did stay behind after the meeting, and there were requests that I did hear, and so I did present that the city is creating the educational board, and the comment was, we need something more intimate than that. And so I'm not sure that an individual council member can create the vision that this individual wanted, but we are working on it in creating this. So,
thank you. Mr. Douglas?
Yeah, I agree as well, because on Monday, discussion about the council get involved, and I did note that Andrew was one of the committees as far as working with ABS 14, in that there's several of us that would like to be involved. Just that scheduling meetings on Mondays is kind of difficult for council. So in future meetings, I requested that they be during the week, so they get more attendance from council.
And just to put it out there, as a council person, we can get involved as a citizen. As a council, we have to get permission from the rest of council to be involved, and we just can't get involved in an intimate relationship because we're going above our bounds then, and we're liable to get in trouble. Well, we will get in trouble because we're going over and above what we're supposed to be doing as a council person. So I tried to explain that, but I'm glad you guys explained it a lot better than I did. Thank you. Is Mr. City Attorney, you had something more?
I just wanted to add, I neglected to tell you that I will be in Washington, D.C. On our June 2nd meeting, so therefore I will not be present for that meeting, but Deputy City Attorney Karen Stevens will be present in my absence.
Will she be wearing a sports jacket? Okay, no. That was
I'll think of something for her.
Okay. Ms. Carson?
I just wanted to offer my congratulations to Team Commerce City. 12th place out of 102 teams is pretty good. And then I wanted to say that I will be out of town on the Memorial Weekend, so I won't be present at the parade, but happy Memorial Day to everybody. And then I just wanted to shout out and say congratulations to all the graduating seniors in the city. That's a big day for you, and I know some of our youth commission are graduating, and so congratulations.
Mr. Benson?
Well, I also want to congratulate our marathon relay team, because when I ran in that thing back in 2010, I think we came in next to last. I mean, I don't think I can run a 5K in under 35 minutes right now, but I'm sure you had some people that ran it a lot faster than that.
Well, do I see any further business from anybody from on council? Anybody on staff have any further business? Seeing nothing further, this meeting's adjourned. Right. We're 10 minutes overdue. We were supposed to be done at 8.
Hey, how you doing?